Hello, everybody. Welcome to the lecture series on communication. Our main focus in this lecture is on doctor-patient communication. However, we know that communication is important in many other aspects of healthcare and beyond healthcare in your life. In fact, communication alone can make a difference to our life as well as entire society. Learning communication skills in doctor-patient communication will help you to improve your communication skills in many other situations. Skillful and organized communication will contribute to your academic performance as a learner, researcher, as well as a teacher. Communication skills will contribute to your success in administration, advocacy, and collaboration. Most importantly, you will engage in more than 200,000 patient encounters during your lifetime. You have made them effective, efficient, and supportive. So therefore, learning communication skills become vital in your career. I like to re-stress the fact that your communication skill should be effective. That means you should be able to gather all the information accurately, relevant, and completely. Similarly, it should be efficient, where you will be able to gather information during the short period of time that you have. And you need to be supportive, where your communication skills, communication process should be soothing and pleasant experience for your client, your patient. In this lecture, I will try to define what is health, what is education, before I get into the topic of communication, because it becomes important to have that background understanding to think of the scope of your responsibilities. And then I will define this term, what is patient-centeredness, as it becomes really important in the process of understanding why we should have specific communication skills for us to progress in our career. And then we'll deal with models of communication in the next lecture. When we talk about training healthcare professionals, we start thinking that their expertise, that is their knowledge and technical skills, may not be sufficient to become a holistic doctor, holistic healthcare professionals. On that line of thinking, CanMed competency framework has been developed in Canada, it's been recognized in many countries. They recognize beyond the knowledge and skills, a doctor needs to be a good communicator on the top of the list, and then need to be a collaborator, need to be an advocate, need to be a manager, need to be a good scholar and a professionals. They are all important, but then I have highlighted the communicator here because you need to be a good communicator to get into all the other competencies that is expected from you. You can't be an advocate or a collaborator without having good communication skills. Now in this slide you can see I have inserted another box. Now beyond these competencies, there are attributes one should inculcate. That is, patient-centeredness is an attitude, empathy, resilience, tolerance, adaptability, and wisdom. Now that's very important. For you to be a good healthcare professional, you need to inculcate all those attributes as well. If you further read on this subject in the 21st century skills, there will be a more wider range of competencies that or skills or character qualities that you can inculcate. In fact, if you go back to your religious teaching, there will be even more character qualities that one should embark on inculcating, developing within yourself. At this stage, it's best to see what is meant by education. It says education is a process of changing behavior of a person effectively. It's not a matter of learning things to remember. You got to remember for a purpose of doing a job, for the purpose of changing your attitudes, developing your skills, changing yourself to become yet a different person who is more useful and valuable to the society as well as yourself. So that is the correct definition of education. To achieve that, you have to have the knowledge, that is called cognitive component. You have to have skills, that is psychomotor component. You need to develop attitudes, that's the affective component. And then I have inserted interpersonal skills, that is to do with relations, because it becomes vital in the process of a discussion about communication. Now, having said that, when you're talking about communication, there's a knowledge component, there's a skill component, as well as attitude component that you have to gather and develop within yourself. Now, the WHO has defined health as a state of complete physical, mental, social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Now, this definition is driving us to get better from our illnesses, avoid any difficult situation, avoid epidemics, avoid disasters, and get better. And even if we get better, to get ourselves rehabilitated to get back to the normal thing. So it's not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. However, the current thinking in the world has expanded beyond that. Now, treating diseases, rehabilitation, recovery, prevention of epidemics, and all that are reactive approaches. People talk about more proactive approaches of enriching, developing, progressing your physical health, emotional health, spiritual health. In fact, we use the word wellness, emotional wellness, spiritual wellness, intellectual wellness, physical wellness, environmental wellness. Now, that's an important concept. Now, we know we should live in an environment that is not conducive for any form of disasters, diseases. So, enriching our environment and improving environment is part of our wellness. And then you have the financial wellness, occupational wellness, and social wellness. You can add political wellness as well and intellectual wellness into this. So you need to be a well person. That is not the neutral status of not having diseases. It's more proactive, progressive, and developing into a higher status. And then the black line underneath stress the fact that wellness is not an individual pursuit. It's more of a community pursuit. Now we need to be well as a community rather than an individual. Now, based on that, the wellness is a continuum. You start with the medical paradigm, which is mostly reactive, and then move on to a more of a wellness paradigm. In a reactive paradigm, what you want to achieve is for the patient to feel better, to treat and cure illnesses, and then attend to corrective things where in the process of rehabilitation you want to improve, and you are getting ready to manage epidemics if epidemics comes up. And then where the clinical responsibility lies on the healthcare workers, and therefore in that process the responsibility is segregated into a professional group. Whereas wellness paradigm is going beyond that, the neutral status that you can achieve by medical paradigm, where you talk about thriving, you develop further, and then progress, and then it's more of a primordial prevention, holistic approach, and then the responsibility goes into individual and the community and integrated into the life. So therefore a proactive approach is promoted in the wellness paradigm. So when you think about education parallel to this reactive and proactive approaches, in education also we have many reactive approaches. We talk about how to manage depression, how to manage anxiety, anger and hatred, how to support when somebody is confused, and then resolve conflict and antisocial behaviors such as ragging. They are all reactive approaches. So if you can shift to more proactive approaches where we can cultivate transcendence, inculcate empathy, grow resilience and adaptability, promote leadership and collaborations, all that will be proactive approaches. I'm not trying to say that reactive approaches you can get rid of altogether, but the education system should be more proactive to create this society with all these good competencies and good qualities. Now, talking about shifting from reactive approaches to proactive approaches, if you are to shift from destructive, chaotic societies to collaborative and supportive societies with empathy, good communication skills, harmony, so we need to be more proactive. Now, the society has a problem of homicide, suicide, child or woman abuse, rape, adultery, ragging, harassing, robbery, corruption, bribery, and so many extremely bad behaviors are there in the society. So you can use rules and regulations, intensify them, have a very good administrative structure. Probably you will be able to control them, but then the society is not going to be all that peaceful, calm, because there will be eruption of disruptive, chaotic, non-collaborative behaviors, and they might create conflicts. Okay, from that point, probably your education, you inculcate those good disciplines, control them, and educate them not to engage in bad behaviors, and further intensify your rules and regulations. Probably you can create a non-disruptive society with no conflicts, peaceful life. But without interactions, all that approaches would be more reactive. If you want to be proactive, you need to inculcate good culture, good skills of communication, being empathetic, being supportive, and being collaborative. Now, as I said earlier, it's a matter of community engagement. You need to build yourself with those competencies while promoting them in the process of advocating, promoting empathy, collaboration, and harmony. But then when it comes to a professional, especially a university professionals, or somebody who's engaged in a community engagement, you need to advocate and go beyond that, be champions and advocates of empathy, peace, harmony, and collaborations, where you need to do research and then promote these good behaviors in the society. Okay, now let me enter the topic of our conversation. It's about communication. And the first thing I like to do is to give a definition about communication. Communication is the process of sharing information, ideas, feelings, emotions, and values between two or more persons. Now, there are many definitions, but I have selected out of them this Newman and Summer definition in 1964. I feel that is comprehensive and that is good for use in the health care profession. Stressing the fact that it's a process of sharing. It's not a process of giving and taking. When you use the word sharing, it indicates that we are working in parallel position, respectful, and we are sharing information. And then it's not only information, we share ideas, our feelings, emotions, and values between two or more persons. Now that again is very important. We should know that every moment we are sharing our feelings, our emotions, and we are sharing our values. So that's very important. Now I think we have added this extension to this definition because we find that when it comes to the healthcare profession, our communication should be supportive, so that our patients or our clients should feel comfortable and soothing for them, and then it should be effective. What does that mean? That means that it should be able to gather or share all the relevant information, comprehensive, and it should be accurate, it should be correct, and then the information that we share or gather should be relevant to both parties, for you as a healthcare professional and to the client as the customer. And then we need to do all that in an efficient manner, because none of the healthcare professionals have so much time to spend. So you should be able to do it in a short time. So that is how we develop our skills and professionalism. So in fact, the next lecture will deal with the patient-centeredness and talk about the models of communication. So thank you. Move to the next lecture, where we will be discussing about what is patient-centeredness, and then move on to understand few models of communication before we start discussing about Calgary-Cambridge model of communication. That's the main focus of this lecture series. Thank you.